As you can see here, I have my layers panel torn off, so we can take a look at some of the many options available to you when you want to change how you work with your layers and the content contained within them. If I go to this pop-up menu on the right, you see that I have the ability to create a new layer, a new sublayer. I can duplicate the selected layer, and I can delete the layer. Now, of course, I would never use this option to do that when I can use these icons down here. I can delete and create new things, and to duplicate, simply drag on the new icon here. But I can also make clipping masks. I can also enter isolation mode. And as we talked about earlier, isolation mode is when you double click on things a couple times to enter a new window inside of Illustrator. So you can edit an object, and then when you're done, you simply click on this arrow a couple times, and now you're out of isolation mode. So once again, I wouldn't do that here either. I can also flatten my artwork, just like in Photoshop. What this means is, I can take all of this stuff here and turn it into one layer. But I typically don't like to do that because Illustrator is so efficient. But you can flatten the artwork, and I'm going to go ahead and say yes, and as you can see, one layer. This makes me panic because I've lost all my ability to really work the way I like to work. So I'm going to undo that. I can breathe now. So we also have this ability to collect in a new layer. Now this is really handy. Let's say, for example, you were working on a tree and you had, for some weird reason, a different leaf on each layer. So you had 40 layers with a leaf on each. Well, you would shift select all those layers, and then you could say collect in a new layer, and then everything would be squashed up that you had selected and brought into a new layer. Then you could name this layer leaves. We also have the ability for you animators out there to release to layers to make a sequence and to release to layers to make a build. Now I'm not going to cover animation in Illustrator, but that's what you could do with those. So you'd have all these different options so you could bring it into Flash, for example. You can also make a layer a template layer, but that's the same thing, of course, as double clicking on a layer and choosing the template button. I can also outline others, show all layers if I have things hidden, and I can unlock layers. So what does this mean? Alright, check this out. I'll go to the chicken layer and I'll select it. Then I'll go to outline others. So it turns the other layers besides the one selected into outlines. And this is helpful when I'm trying to concentrate or really see an effect that I can't quite reach and I want to match something up. So if I wanted to draw another one of these next to this one, I could see that outline and go ahead and draw another one without having to go to that layer. I can go back here again and preview all layers so I can see everything. I can also unlock all layers if I have them locked, and I can lock others. Lock others means don't lock the one I'm on, but lock everybody else. This is an interesting option here. Paste remembers layers. This simply means that if I'm on the chicken layer and I copy something from the chicken layer and I start to work on a tiers layer and I want to paste, it will always paste back to this layer because it will remember that layer. No matter what layer I'm on, whenever I paste, it will paste to that layer because paste remembers layers. I have never found a use for it. We also have the panel options. This allows me, in particular, to change the size here of these icons. Typically, I like to see a little bit more detail. So I can choose large, or I can enter my own pixel value. So I'll choose large, and then you see the pixels are a lot larger as far as what I'm looking at here on this particular layers. So we can go back here again, and we can make this small, and we just have the actual names or labels. This is really helpful when you have a trillion layers. I'll go back to panel options once more and put it back on large. So that is pretty much how you can use many of the options here to change how you interact with your artwork on the layers and the layers themselves.